What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Homie Hangout, where we help others move in excellence. And I know it's late for me to get a video out. I actually recorded one yesterday, and I was gonna post it, and then something happened last night, which I'll get into in a minute. That led me to kind of rethink it. But what I was gonna talk about was some of these podcasts. Crazy Hood Media is kind of the example that comes to mind. I watch their stuff; they're one of the more popular ones, but they've been putting out some stuff that's just not fucking true, right? And it instigates and it creates a problem, And hey, when bands went down to no jumper, the Norteños came 50 deep. They didn't even come 5 deep. Cut it out, right? And somebody had put out there that part of the video they recorded, right, the Unity video, that part of that was recorded at no jumper. That's not fucking true either. Didn't record a video down there, right? And even then, the Unity song, it's literally just a Unity song, right? 414. You can look at the numbers and figure it out. It's not fucking rocket science, right? And and they say, oh, it's a diss song. It's a diss song. It's not a diss song. There is a line in the song, yes, that is about no jumper by this dude, Bo Biz or something like that. I don't remember his name, but the guy who runs the Jackin' for Life record label, who is the one that put out that song, he did make a comment, made a reference, in the rap. He also went down to no jumper when Lazy Boy went down there, right? And did he go that way or not? I don't know. I don't think it really matters, but the song itself is not some big diss track, right? And then it comes out, oh well, these guys used to beef with each other, but now because of no jumper, they're unified, which is just some quack shit too. Like it's a Unity song. It's not the first Unity song. I think NOR did the first one, or at least the first one I heard, NOR Records, and I'm pretty sure that was down in Mex. That was a few years back, but nonetheless, it happens, right? And it's all getting blown out of proportion. And it's if you look at the thumbnail, there's a painting up there of Wood, right? Woody from Antioch and Adam 22. And that painting was done by Lil D like 6 years ago, right? And if you don't know Lil D, he's popular in Northern California rap. He's also a tattoo artist and just an artist in general. And friends with Woody from beginning to end, right? Came up with that dude, did music with them, everything else. And so he did that painting, like I said, 5 or 6 years ago, right? And so it's after Woody had passed, obviously. And it's kind of a trip, right? If you look at what's happening now, but it goes to show that there was a desire, right? Artists were thinking of, man, like no jumper. That's a sign of you making it in music, And Adam 22 has his issues, right? And his own kind of personal character flaws at minimum that, from the past. And I've been critical of no jumper before and it being kind of a Jerry Springer for gang members. And I stand by all that. It's all true. It is also a huge platform. And if you're a rapper, that is one of the places that you want to go, right? To get exposure. And it's been like that for a long time. And so these artists have been hoping to reach a point where they sit at the table and have that conversation. It's quite a step in your journey. And not because it is LA, not because of some competition with rappers from Southern California, just as an artist wanting to be seen. So making this all about North and South is really bullshit, right? But also dangerous. And so, anyways, I had made this whole video yesterday, and then I went out to sushi, checked my Instagram for the pictures, right? The food was dope, and came back and I saw that Compa Raidher was on Haters World. So I watched it. And it was a great conversation, right? I came into the live a little bit late, so I had to wait for it to finish so I can go back to the beginning and start it from jump. And I was critical of Compa Raidher, like earlier last week or something like that, because of the conversation that he had with Chito Ranas and all the substance use and everything else. But I got to give credit where it's due. He made a lot of sense on Haters World. And the response he got from Blue Devil, and I think it's like his brother, Blue Devil's brother, whoever's sitting next to him on the couch, that dude was sharp. I'm not sure who he is, but he was sharp, and I agree with him. Really in his perspective, like so. Compa Raiders making a point of, hey man, no jumper is just trying to create space for Raza, right? And all across the board, Raza is getting more action and more motion, to use a word the kids use, right? Right now than really ever before. Folks from Southern California, from Northern California, from non-affiliates, just across the board. And whether it's music or it's podcast or whatever, a lot of traction is there. And yet people are caught up in this old tribalism bullshit, right? And no disrespect to those really in the field, right? If that's how you choose to live your life and that's what's most important to you, then go for it. I understand. I was once there also. Um, I hope you make it, man. I hope you make it and grow to live a different life, but again, kind of separate off topic thing. The point is, progress is happening here, right? And yet people are being deterred because of podcasts. And it's really crazy that they have that much power, but it really seems that they do. I know for a fact Northern California artists, I know of specific Northern California artists and specific Southern California artists that I know have communicated offline, right? And in recent years. And yet, if you sit them down right now, they will probably tell you that they wouldn't work with an artist from the other side. And I get that because as a bigger community, we're not quite there yet, right? And there's some artists that really would never work with, folks from the other side. And that's okay too. Like bridges have been built, right? Connections have been made. Those bridges aren't for everybody. Not everybody wants to travel that road. And that's fine. You don't have to. Nobody's forcing you to. But some people do. And it is good business for some folks. And it would pave a way, right? Somebody's going to have to be the first. When that happens, I don't know. But again, progress is being made, right? And newsflash to those that are really caught up in this tribalism mindset, much of the broader public wants to see that happen, right? Folks from outside California don't even fucking understand the division. It doesn't make any sense to them. It's kind of like, man, really, people are still doing this gangbanging shit from back in the days. And even a lot of folks in California, and even folks who were in that lifestyle or influenced by that lifestyle from, wherever in the state are like, come on, man, we gotta move past this, right? So I look forward to the day when it happens, but nobody is forcing it. Yet that's the reaction that's coming. Oh, yeah, Gold Toes is taking over and all this other bullshit, right? And it's causing people to back up. And some bridges are getting burnt, right? Because of the pushback by podcasts, by people who really aren't in the mix, And they're putting out these narratives, and then these artists and other people are asked these questions based on bullshit hypotheticals that aren't even true, and then they have to respond to that, which then leads to more content and whatnot. Earlier, I was watching Mudville Media, I think is the name of the channel, but just look up Mudville. And he had done a video, talking kind of about this stuff. And he had a clip that I hadn't seen of Adam 22 talking to Vlad, right? And Vlad's like, hey, man, they're saying you're getting mixed up in this north-south stuff. And he even made the point, like, I ain't doing none of that shit, man. It's the podcast. Like, there's podcasts just making stuff up. And even Compa Raidher was like, hey, I wouldn't sit down with, I think he was called a red ragger, right? But he's like, I wouldn't sit down with a northerner. But Adam ain't playing those games. Like, I got my schedule, they got their schedule, and I'll be honest, I'm pretty sure even artists from Northern California came down there. Let's say Bands and Gold Toes walked in and Compa Raidher was right there. I seriously doubt they're just gonna turn around and get off, right? I really do. And not because folks are punks or cowards or anything else, but it's a professional environment. You're there to do an interview. I don't think Compa Raidher would bang on them, like, who knows? But in reality, like, you're talking about some grown men on some grown men shit. So all this stuff gets hyped up by these outside voices, but you guys don't really have skin in the game. You're winning because you're getting views, and you're not really taking any L's because you're just on a phone or behind a computer or whatever. There are folks really out there in the streets, and this is having real life consequences for them, right? And people coming on here and talking about neighborhoods and this, and it just gets messy. Violence is kicking up in Northern California, and I'm not drawing a direct connection between this incident on the streets and this video by this channel, right? So don't get me wrong, but again, there are people really out there, and you hear this narrative, and everybody feels like they have to one up the disrespect from the last person. So it goes from, nah, I wouldn't really work with no artists from over here because I got a history of beefing with Southern artists or Northern artists or whatever. And really, you don't hear that from Southern artists because Southern California folks don't have a history of beefing with people from Northern California unless it's in prison, and that's just a whole different dynamic, right? But no artist from Southern California gangbanged against or was gangbanged against by folks from Northern California. right? It just doesn't happen. That gangbanging, North versus South violence happens in Northern California exclusively, right? So, but you have some artists from Northern California that's, nah, man, I wouldn't work with somebody who calls himself a Southsider because I got a history of banging against Southsiders and getting banged on by Southsiders and whatnot. Okay, cool. Like that gets elevated though to the next person said, "Oh yeah, man, f the other side," and it was f the other side and your bitch, and it winds up going further than it really needs to go, right? And I think a lot of that again is just because of podcasts. So it's just messy, you know. It Threads jumped on Mudville Media with myself and Pocho the other day, and right away tons of comments, and it was a good conversation, mature, responsible. I, I don't think any of us were speaking on behalf of a gang or a hood or anything else. We're just grown men that grew up in different parts of California having a conversation, right? And if you listen to the conversation, it wasn't about gangs or anything else. I'm thankful for that. And for those that don't know, in prison, conversations happen. And before the agreement and that kind of stuff, right? I paroled years before that ever happened. But on level 4 yards, right? Very active, very GP. In the SHU program with very affiliated people. There was mature, responsible conversations all the time. Jokes got cracked, right? A little gambling on football games, maybe here and there, just a little football pool. But so that shit's been happening. Those doors have been opening. And again, folks with no real skin in the game are kind of fucking it up, to be honest. And for views, I think we got to be better, right? Like I said, it's one thing to put a twist on stuff to get clicks. It's another thing to just make up some bullshit. There's no takeover happening of anywhere. Ain't nobody trying to take over anything. You have artists trying to get their music out there and trying to be seen. And it is what it is. So help others move in excellence. That's what homies do. Help yourself at the same time because you're worth it. Help your community because they need you. And again, man, shout out Compa Raidher and Blue Devil and those folks at Haters World for a really mature conversation that they had. I appreciated it. All right, you guys, take care.